We've got a lot to talk about with UFOs today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, to start with, what do you think about this awesome UFO sighting in Brazil? Look at that amazing, very clear cigar-shaped craft. It's really cool. It looks like it's like lighter on that end than the rest of it, kind of glowing on the tip of it. But a really great sighting, so clear, so clearly delineated, giving off this blue light. Here's the audio.
Oh, just as the
Okay, not super exciting audio, but there you go. Check it out, this amazing sighting. This is shared by Stephen Kent, or Steph Kent, excuse me, Steph, who says, a cigar-shaped UFO over Brazil. Have you seen any UFOs surrounded by a blue light? I have. Well, that's very cool, Steph. I appreciate you sharing that. I thought that was a great sighting. Let me know what you guys think. Meanwhile, Matt Laszlo is talking about Kirsten Gillibrand's comments about the mystery drones in the White House. She says the White House doesn't know what they are. She's not buying this whole FAA-approved narrative. I don't think anybody is. What do you make of the White House saying the FAA knew that what all these were on the East Coast? Kirsten Gillibrand says, we're not concerned about most of it. We're concerned about specific drone incursions over Langley and arsenals and other sensitive military sites. It's very concerning, and so I think they just listened to the pablum that came from law enforcement to say we're not worried about most of the reports because most are of aircraft and other known objects. But it doesn't answer the question. They don't know. I think they do. I think they have a pretty good idea, Kirsten. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what we're dealing with here. She goes on, we have adversaries flying drones over our bases to collect intelligence. It's a huge intelligence failure. Well, if that's what's going on, absolutely it is. And I'm sure there is a certain amount of, spying going on. But that's not what we're talking about here. She goes on, is the SASC taking over Senate Intel's former UAP investigation? Because I asked about it in Armed Services, the SASC chair, Roger Wicker, said, do you have co-sponsors? Gillibrand says, he said, let's try to look at it in this committee. So, yeah, so is the investigation moving to the SASC in the Senate? So, that would be interesting. They haven't been making much progress where it is now in the Senate, so I don't have a major problem with that. But there's other news from Matt Laszlo. Oh, well, hang on. I did want to go to one other thing, talking about the mystery drones while we're still on the subject of the mystery drone. Matt Laszlo is sharing various other Congress people's responses to the FAA narrative. This is sad but funny. Okay, Representative Chris Smith on UAP swarms. One went down, we're told over Langley. Yeah, and I think that's a very important point we can't lose track of, is that one of these objects, one of these mystery drones, is actually in the custody of the military. One of these went down over a military site, and they recovered it. And they haven't said boo about it. Why? Why haven't they revealed to us the secrets of the mystery drones when they have one? The cover-up is real, guys. And I've only ever seen anything covered up like this when it's related to UFOs, when it's related to anomalous activity. They reveal spies. If they catch a spy, they say, hey, we caught a spy. That's not what they're saying with these things. They're saying, oh, they're FAA-approved craft. But meanwhile, we caught one. We're not going to tell you what it is. Senator Kaine said about Trump's response about the FAA stuff. He says it's definitely not the case. And New Jersey Senator Andy Kim said, I have no idea what that means, talking about the FAA narrative. And Matt Laszlo shares more comments. The FAA didn't approve the New Jersey mystery drones, says Senator Booker. And he goes on. And so absolutely, that's not what's going on here. We're not talking about spy drones. We're not talking about balloons. We're talking about something more anomalous that the administration is lying about. Now, why are they lying about it? Because these things are going over our most sensitive sites, even forcing the relocation of fighter jets in one case, which is a huge expense. It's a big pain in the ass, I'm sure. And we can't do anything about it. These things are shutting down airports, shutting down Wright-Patterson Airfield, and we can't do anything about it. So to admit that would be like catastrophic disclosure. We are helpless before this power, is what they would be admitting to if they admitted the mystery drones were anomalous. So if they're going to do UFO disclosure, that's definitely not how they want to do it. The phenomenon may be forcing their hand, though. So they may be trying to get out ahead of this stuff by, the declassification task force. If they can start declassifying stuff in a way that isn't catastrophic, preparing the public for this knowledge, that's probably the better way to go, right? So let's hope that's what's happening. Let's hope that actually does happen, because we surely need disclosure. Bill Nelson, meanwhile, he didn't even know what Arrow is. This is like not encouraging, but I mean, it's NASA. So Matt Laszlo caught up to him, asking him about the mystery drones. And Bill Nelson says, I don't know anything about that. Oh, you're talking about drones. I thought you were talking about UFOs. You're talking about drones. Yeah, this is how clued in Bill Nelson is, or, at least what he's admitting to. Matt Laszlo says, well, the FBI says they don't know what they are, so they're technically UAP. Well, we know about UAVs, Nelson says. Undisclosed, where they're from, I think that is a concern. Yeah, so drones are a concern, but UFOs, not so much of a concern. He goes on to say that most sightings can be explained by electrical phenomena or balloons or things like that. So yeah, he's not worried about UFOs, but drones, that's a concern of Bill Nelson's. I thought that was interesting. But Arrow, I'm not familiar with that. It's the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, Matt Laszlo explains to Bill Nelson. It's housed within the Pentagon, but they're the ones supposed to be reporting on UFOs. Oh, that, Nelson says. Well, we got involved because I thought we could approach it from a scientific point of view. So off the cuff, he didn't know what Arrow is. So that just really shows how unplugged he is from all of this discussion. Or how, he's suppressing the information, however you want to look at it. Or maybe a little bit of both. We definitely know that NASA suppresses stuff. I mean, here's Ross Coulthart saying, he basically caught NASA red-handed suppressing UFO information.
I actually do believe that NASA is, on occasion, suppressing photographs, because I've seen it for myself. I've told this story before, but I might as well tell it again. I was at the Marshall Space Center in Huntsville, and that was in May last year when I was giving my address in Huntsville to the Scientific Coalition for the Study of UAPs. And I was being given a VIP tour around the Space Center by a very senior person in the Space Center. And while we were in the main control room with big console TVs showing the feed back from the space station, I noticed probably, 8 to a dozen egg-shaped, tic-tac-shaped objects moving left across screen from the right. And they were coming from behind the space station, looking out towards outer space. And as we were watching, I said to the director of the Space Center who was showing us around, I said, look, is that Starlink satellites? Is there some Starlink launch that's just happened? And he looked and he went, no. Then he looked across to the console chief and she turned a switch and all of a sudden the feed came up saying, transmission to the space station has been temporarily interrupted. Now, I wouldn't have believed that unless I'd seen it. And I never got an adequate explanation for what I and 2 other people with me saw that day. It did look like there were anomalous objects moving right to left across screen, looking out towards outer space from the space station. And we never got an adequate explanation. Now,
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath on getting an adequate explanation, Ross. NASA has been hiding and suppressing stuff for a long time. It's really unclear to me how deep they are in with the UFO control group. Obviously, they run cover for the UFO control group, but are they part of their programs? It would be kind of heartbreaking to me if they were part of their programs, because I mean we've lost astronaut lives going into space on this rocket propulsion that we've been using. If they have alternative means of getting off planet, that's just such a shame, So, but they do hide and they lied about stuff. Here's one possible example that Tom Thompson is sharing of UFOs. See, let me just read it so I don't get it wrong. Alleged NASA footage showing two silver orb-shaped UFOs inspecting equipment. Source is currently unknown. So yeah, take this with a grain of salt, but possible UFOs in space suppressed by NASA. Is that a satellite? Is that the ISS? What do you think? Is this legit? If this is legit, can that be explained by those being satellites or debris or something like that? It's an undisclosed, unnamed source, so take this with a huge grain of salt. But yeah, NASA definitely is suppressing stuff. There is definitely stuff they are not wanting us to see, and they're them cutting live feeds and live streams. That's not the first time I've heard that kind of story. And indeed, there have been NASA whistleblowers that have come out saying that, yeah, they're suppressing this stuff, and here's what happened. And those people died suspicious deaths. So, let me know what you think. Is NASA on the level? Are they deep in the UFO control group? Or are they simply running cover for the UFO control group? Meanwhile, I still can't figure Stephen Greenstreet out. Help me out with this, guys. Okay, so he's drawing attention to this Pentagon report. I believe this is actually one of the ATIP reports talking about biological effects of human contact with the beings, with NHI. And it goes into, pregnancies and stuff like that, right? Unexplained pregnancies. Obviously, part of the hybridization program, stuff like that. That is what, that was in that's what's in the report, talking about this stuff. And not very many people talk about that Pentagon report that, came out several years ago. But Stephen Greenstreet is bringing it up. He's mocking it. He says, a funny example of the mainstream news media promoting wacky clown-s with zero fact checking. And he has this mocking music playing over these clips here, but he is drawing our attention to it. He is drawing our attention to this Pentagon report, this ATIP report, talking about anomalous biological health events like pregnancies, for example, associated with human contact with aliens. This is a report that most of us have forgotten about. But Stephen Greenstreet, while mocking it, is bringing our attention back to it. So is he, what side is he on? Is he really a debunker, or is he only pretending to be a debunker so that he can get this information out there? I still don't know about Stephen Greenstreet. Let me know your thoughts. Meanwhile, somebody was asking about Project Gravatar the other day and wanting to know if there was any progress with that. When is that Bob Lazar documentary coming out? When is that VR experience coming out? With where we're going to actually be able to put ourselves in Bob Lazar's shoes and see S4 and all the stuff he was working on virtually. Well, I don't know about the virtual side of things, but it appears that the documentary about Bob is coming out, and there's a brand new trailer for it. I can't play it because it's got music playing on it, but I will link to it, and you can watch the trailer, and it looks like the documentary is coming out this summer. S4, the Bob Lazar story. So yeah, very exciting. Can't wait to see it. I really love Jeremy Corbell's documentary. It's going to be hard to meet it's going to be hard to beat Mickey Rourke's narration on that. That was amazing. Meanwhile, Anna Polina Luna says a new UFO hearing in Congress is coming soon.
Will we have another JFK hearing before another task force hearing? Do you know?
Well, we're in session, so just really depends on the session calendar. I mean, we have some other interesting topics that we're covering, like UAPs. Some of that's being done in a skiff. There's going to be a hearing noticed here pretty soon for that.
Will we have another JFK
Okay,
hearing?
so they're doing stuff in a skiff, presumably the David Grush material. They're getting information from David. Hopefully that will lead them to be able to call forth witnesses that are direct participants of these UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs, and they can testify before Congress. Now, it's unclear to me how all of that works, because if they're sharing that in a skiff or learning that in a skiff, are they then prevented from acting on that information? Is this best done outside of a skiff? I don't know how all the mechanics of this are going to work out, but, that was the whole idea of David Grush joining the task force, is that he could help them in their investigations and ideally help them bring forth witnesses, direct participants of these programs. That'd be so exciting if that happens, especially if they're able to provide some sort of proof of what they have been doing, reverse engineering UFOs. We don't have a date for the next hearing, but Anna Paulina Luna is indicating it's going to be pretty soon. Meanwhile, this video of a potential Dogman is making the rounds. What do you think? Is this a real Dogman? I mean, skinwalkers seem to be a thing. That seems to be a real deal. I am assuming that dogmen are some kind of a skinwalker, and it's not like a separate phenomenon. But what is that thing? Is this CGI? Is this, just a dog? What are we looking at there? What are we looking at? Well, luckily there's a stabilized version of that, shared by Teo Red Octopus. Thank you very much. So let's take a gander at the stabilized Dogman. Dogman wasn't stable enough. Look at that, and you can see the eyes. You can kind of see the ears and the muzzle. It could be a baboon. Could this be a baboon or something like that? To me, it looks more like baboonish. If this is real. I'm not seeing it doing anything that a baboon couldn't do. Yeah. It looks spooky though. Yeah, I mean, dogmen are, there's a cool cryptid. Dogmen are cool cryptids. I like dogmen. I don't know if I want to meet a dogman, but they're cool to hear about. Yeah. Okay, that was like our best look at it right there. Right, yeah, right in there. You can get a pretty good look at this thing. Both eyes, the long muzzle. It's got ears poking up. Yeah, if this is not CGI or something, is that a dogman or is that a baboon or a wild hog or what is that? What is that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Meanwhile, Ryan Graves talks about the National Science Foundation potentially forming their own UFO program. This is exciting.
I've spent the past 8 months or so working with leadership at the National Science Foundation. And this recently culminated about a month ago, but the director of their technology innovation program is ready to publicly establish a UAP program office at the National Science Foundation. And I'm currently brokering a meeting with him and representatives within Congress to continue to work on that. And that, that is a key piece, I think, that is going to energize this innovation ecosystem to be able to actually, in the manner that we do with every other company and technology, in this country, start utilizing, natural resources and grant funding to be able to move this conversation forward.
Love it, man. I hope that happens. Christopher Sharp says, I have just spoken to the National Science Foundation. Its official response, NSF declines comment. So that's not super encouraging, but maybe they're only declining the comment because they're still in the formulation stage of all of this and they don't want to reveal it until it's, a signed and a done deal. But let me know what you guys think. Ryan Graves is also has other interesting things to say. He has reportedly secured high-resolution photos of a barbell-shaped UFO. I want to see this thing, Ryan.
Very large black rectangles you will, look almost, two-dimensional. I mean, your classic saucer shape, all sorts, stuff that's, harder to describe. There's kind of a category that looked like a barbell, like a T with an extra head. I have some very high resolution photos of those. I've been seeing across the world.
Okay, well, show them, Ryan. I want to see these barbell UFOs. That sounds awesome. Barbell UFOs have been around for a long time. Let's listen to this piece briefly here.
Now, we hear about this as we receive new information about a 7-minute encounter between a glowing blue barbell-shaped UFO, half the length of a football field in size. It came from 3 witnesses, including a Pentagon engineering contractor. This happened in southwestern Ontario in August 2013, about 11 years ago. One of the witnesses describing an indigo plasma that covered most of this craft, claiming the craft rotated slowly for about 6 or 7 minutes while emitting an electrical spark-like shower. One witness attempted to film the craft with his camera phone, only to get static when he did, despite the camera working before and after the encounter. So that's the claims here. Now on screen, you're seeing a rendition and a sketch of what they saw that day, the shape of what they saw. I mean, they said 6 or 7 minutes it sat there. The craft eventually shot off at, they say, an incredible speed. Robert Powell is a UFO investigator.
Okay, so in our first CE5 that my UFO group and I did back when we were with MUFON, we had really interesting experiences. About half of us, I didn't have any experiences, but about half of us almost were interacting with these beings of light during the meditative phase of the CE5. And one person was seeing a craft in the sky that was made out of light, and it was pulsing from back and forth, and it was shaped like a barbell. Now, it didn't seem to be as structured as this kind of craft, and only one person was seeing it. But when he talks about the plasma and stuff, of this thing, I wonder if it's something like that we saw. Maybe we saw this, similar sort of object in a different state of matter, just as it was materializing into this dimension from somewhere else. And these guys saw it at a later point when it had fully materialized. Who knows, just throwing that out there, but I thought that was really interesting. Either way, many people have seen barbell shaped UFOs, and it looks like Ryan has some footage of it. I hope he shares it with us. Last but not least, when a tiger cub sneaks up on his mom. I mean, come on, that's just cute. All right, let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. You don't want to miss a thing. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below. Become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.